What is up, guys, and welcome back to episode 61 now of the Leeds United career mode here in FIFA 17. Last episode we took on Sunderland in the EFL Cup final, so if you haven't seen that episode, go back and watch it before you watch this one, as they will be a bit of spoilers during this episode to do with that, and I don't want to spoil the episode for you too much, so hopefully you guys will go back and watch it before you do in fact watch this one. But if anyone is still left on the video, you guys will know how that video or how that game actually ended against Sunderland. So at the moment, I feel our chances in this Premier League of going unbeaten are very, very strong. We obviously come off the back of that win there against Sunderland in the last episode. And, you know, that's another trophy added to the belt. That's one of the trophies we didn't have here at Leeds. So that makes it 3 now that we've managed to get in the Community Shield, the FA Cup and the EFL Cup. Meaning that now all we have to do is win the title here in the Premier League and the Champions League. And we will have won every single possible thing that we can do here at Leeds. So our objective is to make sure we win this Premier League title, which at the moment looks like it's probably going to be coming over to Ellen Road for here. But I also want to go unbeaten. If we possibly can do that, then that'll be fantastic. Then it's the Champions League. That's going to be the biggest tough test that I'm going to have to do in this series. And it's going to be so challenging, I have to say. You know, it's going to be one of those things where it's going to be long. We're going to have, obviously, Premier League games alongside it, Cup games alongside it, and it's going to be one of those things where I'm going to have a huge and big team to be able to take into Champions League games, where I know and can, you know, put my faith into and say that I do firmly believe we'll be able to win games against teams. Because at the moment, although my team is undefeated in the English Premier League, and although we have a number of good players here at Leeds, is it quite good enough to take on the likes of Barcelona, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich in the Champions League? Or will we go there and just crumble, you know? Because we obviously last season we won the FA Cup, came into the Premier League with a similar team. Not last season, sorry, in the first season. Then last season came into the Premier League with a similar team that we won the FA Cup with. And in fact, we actually added, players to the team. And yet we didn't have the most convincing of Premier League seasons. Although we did manage to scrape an 8th place finish in the end, we started off that Premier League campaign very poorly. So, you know, we haven't played Champions League football yet. We didn't get out of our group stage in the Europa League when we did in fact play in that. So at the moment, I'm a bit sceptical in terms of what I think is going to happen when we do in fact get Champions League football. Because it's looking like a certainty now here at Ellen Road. And next season, hopefully, we'll have a good showing in it. If not, go on to sort of get into the knockout stages and possibly even further in onto it. But, you know, I'm not expecting to win the Champions League in my first season in it. It's going to be a bit of a stepping stone, trying to find out and get my feet in there. And hopefully I'll be able to win it at some point during the series before we end this series. But hopefully as well, on top of that, you know, it won't go too long into the series as well. I think from the next episode, guys, because we will be having Champions League football, seeing as now we've won both cups, I'm probably just going to go ahead and sim most of the cup games. I know that's not entertaining for you guys to watch, but because we'll be playing in Champions League, we'll be playing in the Premier League, and also I may play the FA Cup games because I like the FA Cup rather than the EFL Cup, so I may only sim the EFL Cup games, but we will probably be simming a number of games next season to keep the episode, number down in terms of that one if you are playing Champions League football as well. I haven't really spoken too much about this game here against Everton, but I have to say, Everton had a few half chances in this one. I could have easily stolen a victory here. But when you've got players in your side as good as I have here, watch this team goal. An absolutely wonderfully worked finish in the end. Augusto into Ericsson. Ericsson around the corner to Remy. Remy finishes it off first time into the bottom corner. As in the 81st minute of this game, we took the lead. It was Leeds United 1, Everton 0 at Ellen Road. It was a really scrappy, tough game. I had a couple of chances myself. I think one of my headers got cleared off the line from a corner. But Everton weren't out of this game by any stretch of the imagination. They had a few half chances. And if they'd have been better in front of goal today, they could have got themselves something out of this one. But they didn't. And in the 81st minute of this game, Remy did, in fact, make it 1-0. And that's the way the game would, in fact, end as well. So we pick up another 3 points in the Premier League. Our unbeaten run still continues, which is another thing to look and say very well done to as well. So right now, guys, the form we are in, I think we can pretty much do anything we put our minds to. Like, literally, our form is incredible right now. Obviously, we are still unbeaten in the Premier League. It's a bit of an annoyance, the fact that we did go out to Fulham in the FA Cup, because that's just, to be unbeaten in the Premier League and then, to win the EFL Cup as well. The only thing that we were defeated in was the FA Cup, which is just crazy to see, the fact that Fulham are the only team to have beaten us this season, which is, like, mental. So it's one of those things. I think you've got to look at it in 2 ways as well, I have to say, because obviously we got into the EFL Cup final. Most of my thought process was in trying to keep clean sheets and trying not to lose a game in the Premier League. But at the same time, in the back of my mind, although I said I wasn't bothered about that EFL Cup game, I wanted to get into the EFL Cup final so I could just tick it off in this season. Because if you could win it as early as possible, it meant I didn't have to play the games coming up. So when I set out about this career mode, one of the things I said I wanted to do was, in fact, win every single competition in whatever team we were playing in. We've won 3 out of the 5 possible that we could play in, because obviously we can play in, the Europa League as well as the Champions League, but ultimately our goal is to play in the Champions League over the Europa League. And also on top of that, we could have won, the Championship title, every title in England, but it's the Premier League over the Championship any day. So obviously we can still win the Europa League if we choose to do that, but that would require me finishing either in 5th or winning the EFL Cup or the FA Cup. Actually, I don't know if the EFL Cup actually gets in the Europa League nowadays. I think it's only the FA Cup, but I don't particularly want to be playing, Europa League football. I want to be playing Champions League football. And next season, we will have Champions League football here at Leeds. So fingers crossed, I've said it already, fingers crossed we can actually put in a few decent performances. Because we've seen it right now in real life, guys. Leicester City won the league last year. They're unbeaten in the Champions League, but their league form is suffering for it. I do not want to have a repeat of what Leicester are doing in real life next season in this career mode. Because if we go unbeaten, or even if we win the Premier League title here at Leeds, not even go unbeaten, if we do it and then have a poor Premier League season next season, but be convincing in the Champions League, ultimately it's going to come to nothing, because we know for a fact that even if we get through our Champions League group, the chances of us going on to win it is very, very slim, because obviously then we start meeting teams like Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Dortmund, all these big teams that we will be meeting in the knockout phases, whereas in the Premier League, yes, there's 38 games to try and get into a position where it's, it's good, but you need to have a good start in the Premier League. You have to get off to a decent enough start, so then that way you can keep your momentum going, and then that way you're not obviously having to chase down the top leaders, because that's what we were doing, if you remember, in the first season here at Leeds when we were in the Championship. We spent the majority of the season behind the top 2, one of which were Aston Villa, who we take on next here, coincidentally, but we spent most of our time in that Championship season chasing down Villa and Norwich. And I have to say, it wasn't a nice experience, because I always knew that no matter what I did, even if I won games, if they won as well, it didn't matter what we did, in all honesty. We just had to hope that they would drop points, but in the end they didn't. I don't want a similar repeat here in the Premier League, where if we do in fact get Champions League football, play there, have a good Champions League run, and then not have the players to be able to keep up in the Premier League, and then we end up in like 3rd place or even 4th place, chasing the top 2, and we, always like 7 points behind or something, because that's what we were around when we were in the Championship season, and never be able to catch them. I don't sort of want that to happen again, which is the main reason why I went ahead and I did all those pre-contract signings that we signed in January, because I wanted to make sure that we would have enough squad depth here at Leeds in case we did get Champions League football. I was expecting it, I have to say. I said to you guys when this season first started, I would be disappointed with anything less than a top 4 finish. But now I'm going to say right now, I'd be disappointed if we don't win the Premier League title. The position we're in, the amount of points we are ahead, I'll be extremely disappointed in myself and the team if we do not win this Premier League title. If we go unbeaten, it's just a bonus. I'm not really looking to go unbeaten. If it happens, it happens, It's just a bonus at the end of the day. I'm sure when Arsenal went unbeaten and became the Invincibles back in 03-04, they actually weren't looking to go unbeaten until they realised how close they were. I'm sure they were just looking at every game as it came. But here you can see, actually, we went a goal down to Aston Villa, and I was thinking, do not let Villa be the team to stop the unbeaten run. But in the end, Ghazi gets into a position, and on the left foot of his, just strikes it back across the goalkeeper into the bottom corner. I was thinking to myself, if Villa, stop my unbeaten run, I am seriously going to be pissed off. But thankfully for us, Ghazi gets us back on level terms. And then 38 minutes into the game, we did in fact find a second chance in this one. I do believe it's the second goal as well. Remy into the path of El Ghazi again. This time he slides it under the goalkeeper. At first I was thinking, what on earth is the Villa goalkeeper doing here? But then I saw the replay. It was a very, very tidy finish from El Ghazi in the end. 40 minutes into the game, we were 1-0 down in this one. However, we've come back to lead the game by 2-1. And right now, there isn't many teams that I'd be looking at and fearing in terms of beating us here to stop our unbeaten run. But what I will say, guys, in terms of the team that I think that's going to do it, I'm going to say right now, I'm expecting a team who are like bottom 10 or the bottom half of the league to actually stop our unbeaten run. It's just me and FIFA like written all over the place. I do well against big teams. You've seen it here against Villa. They could have easily, gone on to win this game. They scored very early on. But it seems to be I play well against good teams because there's no pressure on me there. And then as soon as I play against a weaker team, like, Middlesbrough did it earlier on in the season, we came back to win that 4-1 in the end because they actually scored the opener in that one, having the lowest amount of goals in the league. And Villa did it here. They got the opening goal in this one. But El Ghazi gets himself the hat-trick here inside 55 minutes. The cross on the right-hand side coming in to our number 10, who's not known for his heading ability. However, he rose highest to meet the cross, I do believe, by Miguel. to nod us 3-1 in the lead here. 55 minutes in, and we were cruising, and it looked as if our unbeaten run could come to an end here against Villa. However, we've turned that completely on its head, and at Villa Park have gone on to lead the game by 3-1. But we were not done there, as in the 64th minute, Divock Origi into the path of Desiglio. Desiglio on this left-hand side just hangs the ball up into the middle, says, Remy, get your nod on that, and like Remy does just that. So a very good performance from our two strikers on the day. El Ghazi getting himself a hat-trick and Remy getting on the score sheet as well. I think he got himself an assist as well for one of the El Ghazi goals. So very nice strike partnership between these two guys. But unfortunately, guys, Remy is in fact getting quite old and decreasing in overall. So at some point, I may have to consider that he will not simply be good enough for this Leeds United side next season. If he doesn't decrease as much as I'm hoping he will, I'm hoping he only decreases a couple before the end of the season. I think if we got him here at 81, he then went down to an 80 pretty much straight away, and now he's 79. So I'm hoping he doesn't go to like a 77 before next season. If he doesn't do that, that'll be fine with me, and he can still play in the team next season, hopefully. But if he decreases any more, I'll be a bit disappointed, and I'll be seriously thinking if we should keep him in the team. But for now, he's doing the job, and I'm very happy with how he is playing. So that's going to bring this episode of the career mode to the end. If you have enjoyed it, smash that like button. As always, thank you all so much for the support you're showing on the series and on my channel. It means so much to me. You can see the league table there. Still unbeaten, as we will take on Crystal Palace for the next game of the next episode. El Ghazi still the top scorer in the Premier League with 15 goals so far here at least. So a very good season for that guy. But thank you all so much for watching this episode. If you have enjoyed again, smash that like button. And as always, I will catch you in the next episode very soon. Adios.